بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا Muhammad وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everyone, and welcome to the class. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive our sins of our shuyukh, our parents, our beloved ones, and may Allah grant us the tawfiq to benefit from this lesson, and may Allah grant us tawfiq so we'll have the ikhlas in our statements and our actions. Ameen. Last lesson we completed the saying of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Ayat 72, Surah Aal Imran, the saying of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, وَقَالَتْ طَائِفَةٌ مِّنْ أَهْلِ الْكِتَابِ آمِنُوا بِالَّذِي أُنزِلَ عَلَى الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَجْهَ النَّهَارِ وَاكْفُرُوا آخِرَهُ لَعَلَّهُمْ يَرْجِعُونَ. And we learned from the conclusion of the views of the Mufassirun that there are two opinions about the sabab al-nuzul, why the ayah was revealed, and who are the ta'ifa here. قال طائفة, a group of Ahlul Kitab said. Who are those a group of Ahlul Kitab? We said that 12 scholars from Khaybar, from the Yahud, that's one opinion. And the other opinion, it was said that the Yahud amongst themselves, the senior of the Yahud, and he referring to Ka'b ibn al-Ashraf and Malik ibn Saif or Daif, to the rest of the Yahud in Medina. I think we completed everything in the ayah. The only thing that I said, I'm going to mention it to you in the following lesson, which is today. The action that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned to us in here, and before that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned the plot of the Ahlul Kitab against the Muslims in the early time with their statements. So creating the shubah, the doubts with their own statements. And here it's an action. If you think about it, to be a believer, to accept Islam and to be amongst the Muslims, and then you say to them, ukfuru akhirahu, and at the end of the day, you disbelieve in the deen that you already in the day, in the daytime, or the beginning of the day, you believed in it, and that's an action. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala showed that Ahlul Kitab, they created the fitna to the early Muslims with their statements and with their action, both of them. Okay, now this action that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned it, and also the statements, it's not something that ended from that time, long time. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala narrating to us a story it happened in the time of Rasulullah and ended there. First thing that you need to know, brothers and sisters, all the time when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions the names of the fates in the Quran, is for you to learn, is for you to know, because these fates are still exist, and you need to be aware of what they say, and you to educate yourself. And this is related to us as well. When we talk about a group of people, when we talk about party, we're talking about individual people, and we criticize what they say and what they believe in, we're not interested about the person themselves, in the individual persons as a person or as a group. We're interested about what they say, and we have to go through that, and don't think that we're creating fitna by dividing, as some people are saying, Muslims, or dividing or talking about X and Z person. No, if the person said a statement and was openly said or was written and everyone read it, so then that deserved to be refuted if it was wrong, openly and personally, like normal. So there's no secret in this, and don't think about that criticizing someone in their views, creating a fitna. Yes, there are a time when we have to be careful with what we say. It depends on who you're saying it as well, because some people are ignorant, they will not understand what you're saying, and they think that is you criticizing the deen itself. So I made this introduction because I'm going to take you to what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said about Ahlul Kitab, or generally disbelievers, or generally, let's say more general than the Ahlul Kitab and the disbelievers, anyone who not Muslim accepts Islam and becomes amongst the Muslims with the purpose, with the intention to destroy the Muslims from inside. So from the outside, you think this person is a Muslim, accept Islam, but the reality, the intention of this person is to create a fitna amongst the Muslims. How that can be created? By spreading wrong views amongst the Muslims. The person who will say that will have him for himself or for herself, might be a female as well, states in there, the people that will have high respect to the person, and that person will start spreading views and opinions. These views and opinions will destroy the ummah, will destroy understanding the deen itself. It will be completely wrong. And I'll give you examples. I'm not saying just this is in theory. I'll give you an example in a bit, but just give you now general the idea of that. Those people, generally the Muslims, Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah, the scholars of Islam, they call them as Zanadiqa. So there are sects. The sects amongst the Muslims are known, Muslim sects. But Zanadiqa is not a Muslim sect. In reality, those who claim they are Muslims, but they've been announced amongst the Muslim scholars, they committed an act of statement, an act of disbelief, and they consider them as disbelievers. Some of them, if I may say, I don't have any statistic in here, but most of them have been killed by Muslim rulers in old days, in Abbasi period in particular, because this name, Zanadiqa, it came out during the time of Al-Mahdi and Harun al-Rashid. Al-Mahdi was the one who was very tough against the Zanadiqa because they started during his time, during his Khilafah. And then he started, if I may say, finding them in the whole cities in everywhere, in Baghdad, in Al-Basra, in Al-Kufa, in the Muslim lands, and he was really attacking them, collecting them from everywhere, and he used to judge them and then used to kill them if they did not make tawbah. After that, Harun al-Rashid as well. So their time of these two khulafa was very famous, and that's the start of al-Zanadiqa. Our ulama, and you need to remember the time of Harun al-Rashid, the time of Al-Mahdi is the golden century. The time of Imam Abu Hanifa, the time of Imam Malik, the time of the big scholars. Although we have top scholars in Islam, but on the other side, we have a fitna that's been created by people that create these views, and at the end, we had that conclusion, which is that we named them as Zanadiqa in Islam. So this is the name. The Zanadiqa are the people who they show to you Islam, action and statement, but inside their hearts there is no Islam at all. They are disbelievers, they're kafir. They don't believe in that. Whatever the background of their faith. And how you might say, how did the Muslims, the scholars in Islam, how did they came into the conclusion that this person with the intention, this person is intended the kufr or intended the fitna, to create a fitna amongst the Muslims, intended to destroy the Islam from inside. The statements are evidence. Their statements are evidence for that. So I'll start with this. I'll start now giving you names. I will go into before the names being created, which is Zanadiqa, going to early time, the time of Uthman ibn Affan radiallahu ta'ala anhu, the Khalifa, the third Khalifa of Islam, and personality with the name of Abdullah ibn Saba. Abdullah ibn Saba, and some historians, they add the word at the end, al-Yahudi. We don't need to say it, just Abdullah ibn Saba. They're saying al-Yahudi because his mom, or they say Ibn Sauda. They call him Ibn Sauda because his mom was Sauda and was from Yemen. So Sauda and was from Yemen, and he is a Yemeni, and he was a Yahudi, came to Uthman ibn Affan in Medina, showed that he's a Muslim. He went into those fitna creators, troublemakers, unknown in Basra, in Egypt and Kufa, visited these three places, had a communication with them, and he started creating and collecting. The one who wants to create fitna, it's easy. It's not a problem. They looked into Uthman and they looked into everything that he and the others thought that Uthman ibn Affan made mistakes about them. So he start creating this fitna to those ignorant people. Some of them, as some of our historians said, they are prison graduates, if I may say this word, because they've been sentenced with prison, committing some crimes, during the time of Uthman in different towns, as I said, in Egypt and Kufa and Basra. And he contacted them and he started creating the fitna against Uthman. The story, you know it, which is long. They came until the close before the Hajj time, and they stood in front of Uthman's house, and they start calling and asking for Uthman to step down, to leave the Khilafah. And until the time they killed him. The story of Abdullah bin Saba is quite long. I'm not going to go into much details, but Abdullah bin Saba, our Muslim historians, the Muslims, Ahl Sunnah Jama'ah, I'm not going to say they agreed, but our Muslims who mentioned the name of Abdullah bin Saba, they said he entered Islam with the same purpose of Paul. You know, we say in Arabic, Paulus in Christianity, to change the religion of the Christians. And he accepted Islam to change the views of the Muslims in the rules of the Khilafah, the Imam al-Kubra, in the rules of the Yahudiya, because later on he lived until the time of Ali ibn Abi Talib. He was, and his followers, he was the one who said they followed, or they showed the extreme Shiism. And they said to Ali ibn Abi Talib, you are the God. If Muhammad was the Nabi, you are the God. And they want to go into something like what was mentioned in Christianity. That's a person, maybe not many people they know about him, and was early time. Going later after that, when you talk about the Zanadiq during the time of Al-Mahdi, as I said, and all of this referring to the ayah, the ayah is referring to a group of people of Ahl al-Kitab. They plotted and planned. They enter Islam for the sake of to show them Muslims. But our intention to create a fitna amongst the Muslims. And we will tell them this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. And then we will leave Islam at the end of the day, or maybe the following day. And then we will cause that fitna. They say, oh, so and so left the Islam, so let's leave the Islam. This is not really right opinion. This is wrong opinion. So the same idea. That's the same idea. Going the time of when I said the time of Al-Mahdi and time of Harun al-Rashid, the common famous names that mentioned at the time, they mention the Abdullah ibn al-Muqaffa. He is the author. I mean, there's not much to say about him. I'm leaving the last one. I'm going to talk about him at the end. Abdullah ibn Muqaffa, he was a Majusi. A Majusi was a fire worshipper. He was from Faris, Persian background. And he accepted Islam for the intention to destroy the Islam from inside with his views. And he was the author of, not author, maybe he translated books from different languages. I think the famous book, for some of you maybe knows, a book called Kalila wa Dumna, and is a famous story book in our schools. This is a syllabus for A-level Arabic language. You have to read it to answer the questions for Arabic language. It's a very advanced book in terms of the Arabic literature. So he's one of them. We don't have much books that presenting his views, but his views was quoted by others, and he criticized the nubuwah, the prophecy of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He criticized the some actions that we do in Islam, some of the ibadat. I will narrate some of these actions when I talk about the following personality. The most famous one that you need to know is Ibn al-Rawandi. Ibn al-Rawandi from Rwanda, and Rwanda, that's also from towns close to Asbahan in Iran. And he was, when he started accept Islam, he followed the sect of the Mu'tazila. Mu'tazila is a famous sect in Islam. After that, he did not like what they say, and he criticized them and trying to create fitna amongst them. But the Mu'tazila followers at that time, they're very logical people. They know how to respond to him using the logic. And he is the one who uses the logic. He says, if the Islam brought us, if the Islam tells us about the good things and the bad things, we don't need that, because we have the aql. And the aql will tell us what is good, what is bad. He said Islam brought to us, although it tells us about using the aql, but Islam came to us with some actions that goes against the aql. Why we are doing tawaf around the Kaaba, why we are making tayammum, we're touching a stone or touching a sand or touching dust, why we are. So he went into, he said the prophets of Allah and their mu'jiza, they are magic. They are not really mu'jiza. It's not a miracle. They are magics. They're using magics. And he mentioned so many list of views, and each one of them, it's a statement of kufr. And the ulama listed that. After he left the Mu'tazila, he authored a book called Fadihatul Mu'tazila. It means the exposing the Mu'tazila, because he wants to refute one of the great scholars in the Mu'tazila sect. His name is Al-Jahid. He wrote a book called Fadilatul Mu'tazila, because he himself is a Mu'tazili, and he refuted him in a book called Fadihatul Mu'tazila. So he exposed them. And then after that, he became a Shi'i. And from the Shi'ism, is trying to go into an extreme level of Shi'ism. And also with that, it did not work with him. After that, he became, and he authored books in each sect that he followed. And he ended by being someone mulhid, a zindiq. He says statements, as I said earlier, against Islam completely. And Islam will not accept what he says at all. He... That's the Ibn Rawandi. Ibn Rawandi mentioned as a famous personality. We talk about the Mu'tazila. He entered Islam, although later on I mentioned him, Ibn Rawandi, because from the late scholars, they consider Ibn Rawandi is one of the most senior logical person. He's we have you heard of a title nowadays they gave it amongst the Muslims? Maybe you heard it from good Muslims. I personally don't like using this title. They're saying a thinker, an Islamic thinker, Islamic mufakkir. We in Arabic say mufakkir Islami. I mean, there's many criticism about this title to give it to a Muslim scholar. But anyway, they consider Ibn Rawandi as one of the great logical and thinker person in Islam. But in reality, the Muslim scholars, they stated that he's a disbeliever, he's a kafir by what he said and what he believes in. And he made all of that to create the fitna amongst the Muslims. The interesting things about Ibn Rawandi, unlike anyone else, he created fitna during his time, but never had, that's from fadlullah, from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's protection to Islam. He never had followers, and he did not manage to make for himself a sect and a group, philosophy group, or ideology group, or something, whatever group that in there, as we have the Mu'tazila, we have the philosophers, we have the Jahmiyyah. He never managed to have that. And because of that, the Western scholars, when they studied his personality, they said all what Ibn Rawandi did in reality is not really applied to this ayah. Ibn Rawandi, it was as a revenge of his own states, his own personality. He had a problem with the Mu'tazila and he wants to refute them. He wants as something to get away from the mainstream Muslims, because it was a golden time of the Muslims amongst great scholars in Islam. The time when hadith, ilm al-hadith, was on the top level at that time. He died into the end of the 3rd century. So you're talking about the time of Imam al-Bukhari, Imam Muslim, Imam al-Tirmidhi, and scholars everywhere. Even in the land that he was born in and close into the city Asbahan, we have Abu Hatim al-Razi, we have Abu Zur'a al-Razi, we have great scholars in there. But they said he's as a revenge and as a reaction against the people who was with them. He went from Mu'tazila to a Shi'ism, from a Shia, and then he went completely, I don't like you all, so I'm going to say something completely against what you're saying. This is how the Western scholars explain his personality, but Allah knows best. I'm going to mention 2 more names, and I'm going to mention them. One of them, for many Muslims, they have, because I just recently was talking to one of the brothers. He said, I never know this. I really did something new to me. Have you heard of someone called Ibn Sina? What do you know about Ibn Sina? With medicine, yes. He is the author of a book called Al-Qanun, 5 big fat volumes. It was the base of medicine after that. Anything else? What do you know about him? Ibn Sina is a Qurmuti. A Qurmuti, he's a Batini. He is, Ibn Sina says that this world, this universe is old and azali, before even Allah. It was not even created by Allah. He was before Allah, is azali. Ibn Sina, he says the philosopher is more knowledgeable than the prophet, more has states than the prophet. Ibn Sina has got statements of kufr. Ibn Sina is a batini. Yes, he's a scholar of medicine. No one will doubt that. He was great in his field. He was a philosopher. He was a tabib, as we say, a doctor nowadays. But he was at the same time, he's a batini. He's a qurmuti from the Qaramita. Maybe I'm not sure if you know about the Qaramita, those sect that they created trouble, their base, when they were in Egypt, and then in Sham, and then they went to the Far East, and then went in Bahrain, and those who they stolen the Hajar al-Aswad, and they kept it with them for 10 years, and there was no Hajj in Mecca for a number of years. All of that was under the al-Batini al-Qaramita. Maybe you don't know, when Ja'far al-Sadiq rahimahullah, one of the the 12 Imam of the Shia, and Ja'far Sadiq, one of the great scholars in Islam. We love him because he is one of Ahl al-Bayt, rahimahullah. When he died, he had two sons. We have Ismail and we have Musa al-Kadhim. Musa al-Kadhim from his branch, that the Shia, main Shia, that you know them, the Thna Ashariya, were in the Iran or Iraq, they follow that branch. The other branch, Ismail, from there we have the Ismailiyah. Maybe you heard of the Ismailiyah? That branch, they saying, no, Ismail, he deserved to be the Imam after Jafar. The other ones are saying, no, Musa al-Kadhim, he is the one who deserved to be the Imam. So they split. From that split, they created, we have the Thna Ashariya, the famous one, we all know about them. We have the Ismailiyah. Ismailiyah, they took a different approach. They became Batini. Batini, they hide their faith. They hide their views, and they went to an extreme, and from there they split into so many groups and so many sects. To study them will take us, I would say, about 10 hours. We can go to study about them. It's good to know about them because they exist and they are living in your town in London. They live in Europe, and you need to know about them. Knowing about those is not an issue of to have hatred or anything. Know about them, you know your faith. So no one can pass something into your brain that Allah is telling us about them. And follow the sunnah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He told us about this. I'm telling you about the existence groups and sects that you know them in our life nowadays. So you need to be aware of that. You need to be aware of this. So Ibn Sina, he was amongst the Muslims, Ahlul Sunnah, he was in the Khilafah, he was in Iraq area, and he was mixing with the others, but in under the cover, he passes his knowledge to the others as well as philosopher. Similar to that, Abu Nasr al-Farabi, similar to Ibn Sina, he was after him, and he was a tabib at the same time, and he was philosopher, and he said a similar statements as Ibn Sina as well. And they hide their own belief and sect, and they pass it secretly. And in reality, from outside, people they look at us as Muslims. Now, the good thing, the most important thing for you to know for us, brothers and sisters, just ask yourself, when we come to the masjid, we pray, whether this masjid or any other masjid of Ahlus Sunnah Muslims, do you see anything secret? Now, this is recorded, it's going to go onto YouTube. Do we have anything secret? Anyone can come? We have actually non-Muslims, they come at the back of the masjid and they sit there and they watch us. We're praying, we're chatting, we're having tea, our Jum'ah khutbah, our talks, the class is open, anyone can come in. We don't have registration, anyone can come in here. We don't have anything secret. Our deen, it's what is in here. And what is the books that you see them in the shelves in the bookshops, and you buy them. We don't have anything secrets. The sect or the group, when they started having private invitation to their masjid or to their worshipping place, when the books will not be passed only with a special people and will be by invitation, and that's the books of al-Batiniyah, then you know there is an issue about that deen. There is an issue about that religion. There is an issue about that faith. Why secret? It's the deen of Allah. Why you're keeping that for yourself and your group only? You're not a Yahudi. Yahudi, at least they're saying that we are the chosen people. It's to do with our race, to do with our this, but they are not. That is just it's a different issue. You are whoever that you're following. You have your own sect and having all of that secret, and we have them. I remember this is also recorded now. I remember one of our students went with a group of sects. They called the Ahbash. Maybe you heard of them, and they have their own centers in here, and you can't go there unless if you're invited. And the students been affected with that, or some of the family of that students. And I said to the person that I'm willing to go and have a debate with their teacher, and just to show to the people that I know them. I don't want them to go and be taken away with their, and unfortunately now they're following him now completely. And he said, no, we're not interested. Oh, you're not allowed to come to our center until you're invited. So an invitation means that we know that you might follow us. If they know that you're going to create problems for them, they're not. But our masajid, alhamdulillah, they are open. We don't have anything secret. And that is Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and that's the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So be careful. If someone start talking about something secret about the deen of Allah, there is an issue about it. Then that is not something right. Because the deen has to be open for everyone. Okay, so that's what I would like to just conclude the ayah with. So we'll go to the following ayah. I know it took time, but it's important to share that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said after that, وَلَا تُؤْمِنُوا, in the saying of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but it's from the statement of the Yahud themselves. وَلَا تُؤْمِنُوا إِلَّا لِمَنْ تَبِعَ دِينَكُمْ قُلْ إِنَّ الْهُدَى هُدَى اللَّهِ أَن يُؤْتَى أَحَدٌ مِثْلَ مَا أُوتِيتُمْ أَوْ يُحَاجُّوكُمْ عِنْدَ رَبِّكُمْ قُلْ إِنَّ الْفَضْلَ بِيَدِ اللَّهِ يُؤْتِيهِ مَن يَشَاءُ وَاللَّهُ وَاسِعٌ عَلِيمٌ. This statement is a continuation from the previous ayah, the statement of the Yahud, either the 12 scholars based on one view, or the 2 scholars when they said that to the rest of the Yahud, based on the 2 views. So we go with that. They said, continuation of that, وَلَا تُؤْمِنُوا, they said to the rest of the Yahud, وَلَا تُؤْمِنُوا إِلَّا لِمَنْ تَبِعَ دِينَكُمْ. So really, because I need to remind you, have that as a habit all the time. The sabab al-nuzul, the suitability of this ayah with the previous ayah, and the general meaning. The general meaning, they just gave them a warning in here. They gave 3 warnings, or 2 warnings you may say, and each one of them Allah refuted it. Allah gave an answer to each warning that they said it. That's a general meaning. We'll go through that. The suitability of this ayah with the previous one, really this one statement just divided by the ayah in there is the same statement, because it's from the saying of the 12 scholars of the Yahud, or from the 2 scholars of the Yahud to the rest of the Yahud, based on the 2 views. And then now we'll go into the sabab al-nuzul, same as previous ayah. The reason of why this ayah was revealed, same as the previous ayah. وَلَا تُؤْمِنُوا, wow is waw al-'atf, means and. La tu'minu, la is nahiya. You know the la, as I said to you last week, you might not know Arabic, you have no Arabic at all, but by attending this class, when the words will be repeated, you will get to understand it. Wow, we have different meanings of the wow. Last week we talked about wow isti'nafiyya. When the wow means I'm starting a new statement, it means that this is a new, fresh statement. This wow is wow atifa. It means, as you're saying in English, and. I said something, and then wa, and then something. It means and in here. Then the la, the word la has more than one meanings in Arabic language as well. It can be negation, to negate a meaning, and this is here is a nahi, to make a nahi to prohibit, to forbid, to make it not allowed. So they're telling them, la tu'minu, do not trust. In general, the meaning here, do not trust. And what the Mufassirun said as specific words, they said, la tudhiru, means do not show. Do not show to the others. La tu'minu, don't show, you hide. Don't show to illa liman tabi'a dinakum. I'll come into the rest of the meanings. And the others are saying, la tatma'innu, do not be comfortable with anyone except. Do not show to anyone except. So these 2 meanings are mentioned by the Mufassirun. And if you think about in English, la tu'minu illa liman tabi'a dinakum, do not trust except من تبع دينكم. So تؤمنوا, we know the word تؤمنوا is a verb. I'm going to skip the grammar terminologies. I can, from the feedback that I had from last week, I'm trying to skip the grammar terminologies, and because I think the majority, unless if you attend one class for Arabic, at least the basic level one, and then I'll use them again. So unfortunately, we have to skip that. تؤمن is a verb, and it's a present tense verb. When present tense, the origin of this verb is تؤمنون, there is a noon at the end. تؤمنون. The noon is being dropped because of the la. To differentiate between la for negation and la for prohibition, if it was followed by present tense, is the noon at the end. This drop means that la straight away, without even knowing anything, this la is for nahi. So we drop the noon. It was tu'minuna, tu'minuna. You all trust, or as we said, to show or to have comfort with, illa, except. Illa is istithna. Istithna means to have an exception from the ruling that you made it. They made a rule, la tu'minu, and then he said, except, do not trust, meaning here, anyone. Do not show the idea that we made it, the plot that we planned it, except, illa liman tabi'a dinakum. The lam in liman, the ulama, they talked about the lam of litu'minu. The lam, they said, is a za'ida. Za'ida means it's an extra lam. If you explain tu'minu with the meaning of to have, to trust, and to have that iman, which we know it, I'm going to repeat this again because we said it before. I keep repeating that again and again because this is a faith and this is really important for you to know it. Iman in the view of Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah is an action of the heart, to believe with your heart, to say the statement with your tongue, and to act upon that. So it is niyyah, lisan, and amal. The niyyah with the heart, and nutq bil lisan, to pronounce the iman with your tongue, and to act with your limbs. So you have to do that. So 3 pillars here for the meaning of al-iman. And then we have the pillars of the iman, as you know, to believe in Allah and His messengers and His angels until the end. So la tu'minu illa liman. The lam in liman, lam they said is an extra lam. If you gave an explanation to tu'minu as tusaddiqu, means to trust and to believe, in this case, the lam will not work. There is no need for it. I created for you last week, I think if I remember correctly, last week or the week before, whenever we say there is an additional letter, the extra preposition or particle, what is the meaning of that? What should we say? Is there any extra letters in the Quran that doesn't need to be there? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said it, and Allah should not say it. Does that mean what the ulama, because when he's saying is an extra, do you think those ulama who said that, they mean this? Meaning that they are really disrespecting Allah. And if you really intend that, you are doubting about the authenticity of the Quran. Say they mean linguistically, no need the lam, but no need for that lam, but that lam is for emphasis. Every extra letter or a particle that you will hear about in the Quran, mentioned by the scholars of the language, they say it's an additional letter, and the purpose of that is to create emphasis on the ayah or the meaning of the ayah. So lam here, because you can say وَلَا تُؤْمِنُوا إِلَّا مَنْ تَبِعَ. Do not trust except those who followed you from your religion. So you don't need the lam. But lam here is to add extra emphasis, means surely, indeed, do not trust except those who are similar to you. So illa liman, man, those, tabi'a dinakum, tabi'a yatba'u. You can see now, when you want to consider someone from a deen, a particular deen or particular, let's say, faith or group, there is ittiba'. Ittiba' means to follow. So if there is no ittiba', you are not going to be considered part of that. Well, I mean, at the end, you're part of it, but you're not really genuine person who is. So I'm referring to this meaning, referring to us as Muslims, as Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah. We should try as much as we can to follow the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to be considered as muttabi', a follower of a Deen Allah. It's not a statement. You say, I am a Muslim, or I am a Sunni, or I am a Muslim, and then you don't practice, you don't follow the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The Yahud here, they said, do not trust with the idea that we implemented and we're going to use amongst the Muslims, which is have Islam in the daytime, be amongst the Muslims, later in the day, just get out of the deen. Do not share that with anyone else. لا تؤمنوا, don't show it, do not share it, do not have comfort with anyone except tabi'a, followed your deen, from those who are in your deen. Don't trust the others. Can you see the teaching in here? This is the advice of the Ahbar of Yahud, the 12 scholars of the Yahud amongst each other, or the advice of Ka'b ibn al-Ashraf and his friend to the rest of the Yahud in Medina. So, وَلَا تُؤْمِنُوا إِلَّا لِمَنْ تَبِعَ دِينَكُمْ. Allah refuted that. Don't trust, do not show that except to those who followed your deen, because the others, if they know about it, they might got affected and they're going to expose your idea. Allah said, as refuting them, He said, قُل, say, O Muhammad, إِنَّ الْهُدَى هُدَى اللَّهِ. Surely, indeed, that's inna. See, when you get out the grammar, the lesson becomes very quicker in here, and there will be no much beauty in there, because each word really a lot, means a lot in there. Inna is a particle in Arabic language. When we use it, we're emphasizing the nominal sentence. We use it only with the nominal sentence. Sentence start with a noun, not a verb. And here, al-huda, hudallah. Inna al-huda. It could be, Allah could have said it without inna. He could have said, Qul, O Muhammad, Qul al-huda hudallah. But He added inna to emphasize the statement, to make it strong, to make it really, really strong statement. Say, O Muhammad, inna, because Qul, say, and who's going to say it? Who's the doer? The fa'al, as we said last week. The doer, the fa'al is Muhammad. And the one who's saying Qul is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's the one who's commanding him. So Allah is teaching Muhammad how to refute. And that shows to you, brothers and sisters, if you don't have knowledge, do not get into the stage to refute the others. Refuting and responding to others, you need to have knowledge. Allah is telling Muhammad what to say. It's not for everyone. To refute the others is not for everyone. To answer the others' shubha, the doubts, is not for everyone. Not everyone is doing that amongst the Sahaba, not everyone doing that amongst the scholars as well. Allah is teaching Muhammad, is getting the pure knowledge, the authentic knowledge. When you want to refute, second lesson now, that when you want to refute with the authentic knowledge from the saying of Allah, saying of Rasulullah, and then use the aql, the logic to debate with them. Have authentic knowledge. So two, you need to be a scholar, you need to be someone with knowledge. Secondly, you need to have the authentic knowledge, the authentic sources in there to use them when you want to refute. Say Muhammad to them, Innal huda, the guidance, the hidayah is hudallah, is all from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is in the hands of Allah. What are you doing? It is all plotting and all is makida and makr. You are trying, but in reality is all in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We have two types of hidayah. We have hidayah tawfiq and hidayah irshad. The hidayah that everyone, we as a Muslims, we all required by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in our deen to guide the others. Of course, this guidance, this explanation is based on your level, based on what you have. A mother will be guiding her children, a father will be guiding his family, and goes like that. But there is another hidayah from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the hidayah of putting that iman and that ilm in the heart of the person and taking him from the stray, the misguidings into the lightings and to the hidayah that is in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah said to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, innaka la tahdi man ahbabt. You can't. Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam tried his best with Abu Talib. He tried all the ways of hidayah. That hidayah required by me and you, everyone, we have to do that. But to put that hidayah, that knowledge, that iman in the heart of the person, to make him change from this to that, that's in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You do your duty and the rest in the hands of Allah. So, قُلْ إِنَّ الْهُدَى هُدَى Allah. Say to them, O Muhammad, what you are trying to do is to misguide our followers, our Muslims, by being amongst us and trying to put the doubts in their minds, talking to them privately and misguide them. You're trying, but you're not going to do it, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Innal huda huda Allah, the hidayah is in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In the history of the Muslims, those people who created the fitna, as we did mention some of them earlier, they did. They had a success before, and they managed to misguide people, and those people who have been misguided, some of them died, some of them they went back into the hidayah, as we have that in the history. So they might, and that's why you need to protect yourself. Don't make your ears, as our scholars are saying, don't make your ears like an open door for everything. Make the doors of your ears will listen to something authentic and something genuine in there. Not make it you listen to everyone, especially now with the social media. Every clips, every video, every image, every writing, every this. You go on hours and hours with fingers, it goes up and down as you making tasbih or maybe tashahud. So going up and down. You get the people are really spending long times with this, and they get the knowledge from there. Is that authentic knowledge? Sometimes can be authentic, sometimes not, but is not really an authentic source. That's what we're trying to say in here. Don't make your ears open for everyone, because you might get that a bid'ah, a dalala, a kufr, and finds a right place in you, and you will be gone after that. So you have to be very careful with that. Second point that they mention here, أَيُّؤْتَى أَحَدٌ مِثْلَ مَا أُوتِيتُمْ. So let's take it in this way. So وَلَا تُؤْمِنُوا إِلَّا لِمَنْ تَبِعَ دِينَكُمْ. That's their statement, their invitation to their group. Allah refuted that by saying, قُلْ إِنَّ الْهُدَى هُدَى اللَّهِ. That's a statement of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then a second statement, they said it as if we're going to include this, brothers and sisters. Let me show it in here. So as if Allah wants to say, وَلَا تُؤْمِنُوا again in here. So وَلَا تُؤْمِنُوا, have it again in here before أَيُّؤْتَى. وَلَا تُؤْمِنُوا أَيُّؤْتَى أَحَدٌ مِثْلَ مَا أُوتِيتُمْ. You might say, if that is the case, why did not Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mention it again in there? The Arab, they understand from the language. That's something, when you have the language, it's clearer. When you have the language, you can understand in that way. So as if Allah wanted to say in here, we have وَلَا تُؤْمِنُوا إِلَّا لِمَنْ تَبِعَ. Again here, وَلَا تُؤْمِنُوا أَيُّؤْتَى. Because that's second guidance from the 12 Yahudi, Ahbar of Yahud, to the followers. أَيُّؤْتَى أَحَدٌ مِثْلَ مَا أُوتِيتُمْ. Do not show to the others, because the word tu'minu, do not have trust, do not show, do not have that comfort. Ayyu'ta ahadun, because one of yu'ta, let me explain this in terms of the language. Yu'ta from the verb ata ya'ti, and similar to the verb we have in Arabic, a'ta yu'ti. Ata, I think all of you should know it, because when you talk about zakah, what is the verb usually comes before zakah? Aqimu salah and, what's the word? Atu. See, you know the verb. This is from the same verb. Atu zakah. You know the verb ata is a verb, needs two objects. We have a doer, but when you come into the grammar, you need to have two objects for it. And whenever we say atu zakah, we don't mention, we have atu, ata is the verb, and the waw in atu is the doer. It's me and you, the Muslims. Az-zakah is the object. We call it maf'ul bihi. Where is the second maf'ul bihi? Where is the other maf'ul bihi? The other object. Because ata, whenever you use it in Arabic language, you need to have two objects for it. As in here, yu'ta ahadun mithla. We have two objects in here. The second object, who you give zakah to? Who do you give zakah to? To those who they deserve it, and they are from the 8 categories. So, atu zakata mustahiqqaha. Arabic language if you learn Arabic, you'll understand it. You don't need these extra words in there. It will be understood in there. So don't criticize. It's understood in there. You know, atu zakata mustahiqha. Give the zakat the one that he deserves it. So yu'ta, from to be given, to be received and giving. Ahadun, ahad, it was ahadan, a person, one. Mithla, similar to ma utitum, because they are telling them, we don't want anyone from the Muslims to know and to receive, to know, because if they stay in their religion, they will receive and they will get what we used to get, what we got before, what the Yahud got before, what Bani Israel got before. They got a book from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The main book amongst Bani Israel is the Torah, and other books as well before that. But the main book for Bani Israel was the Torah. The greatest book that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed upon Bani Israel is the Torah. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent to them so many prophets. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave them so many fada'il, virtues, al-man, al-salwa, splitting the sea, protecting them from Fir'aun, and so many fada'il Allah gifted them. Before. So ayyuta ahadun mithla ma utitum. So they don't want the others to have the same fadila or even better. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as you can see later on, he refuted them because we got better than what they got. أو يحاجوكم, أو يحاجوكم, or they will debate with you and they will have the chat with you, and that's referring to Yawm al-Qiyamah. So three, as I said to you earlier, 2 or 3 statements they mentioned them. One is sabr, the first one, وَلَا تُؤْمِنُوا إِلَّا لِمَنْ تَبِعَ دِينَكُمْ. Allah answered that by saying, قُلْ إِنَّ الْهُدَى هُدَى اللَّهِ. Second statement, they said, أَيُّؤْتَ أَحَدٌ مِثْلَ مَا أُوتِيتُمْ. I consider that as 1, but you can have it a 3, because أو, or yuhajjukum. Hajja, yuhaj, to debate. And debating here in front of Allah, yawm al-qiyamah, inda rabbikum, at your Lord. And this shows to you, Yahud, they believe in yawm al-qiyamah. The Yahud, they believe in the day of judgment. And that's what they say in here. Allah quoted their statement, yuhajjukum inda rabbikum. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned in many places in the Quran that يوم القيامة يفصل بينكم يوم القيامة. After mentioning إن الذين آمنوا والذين هادوا والصابئين والنصارى والمجوس والذين أشركوا إن الله يفصل بينكم يوم القيامة. Mention all these faiths, all these religions before Islam, and then because they're having a debate amongst each other during their life, who is the right religion, who is the right God that you're worshipping. And then Allah, the Yawm al-Qiyamah, Allah said, Inna Allah yafsilu baynakum, means that Allah will make the judgment between you and will tell you which one is the right religion and when is Yawm al-Qiyamah. أو يحاجوكم عند ربكم. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala refuted this. He said, قُلْ إِنَّ الْفَضْلَ. Say again, قُلْ, O Muhammad, say Muhammad to them, to the Yahud in Medina, because this is all, it was said, the Yahud Khaybar, they said that to Yahud of Medina. Yahud Khaybar meant to be the more senior, the more richer, and the Yahud of Medina, because Khaybar was to be like complete exclusive area for the Yahud, and very richer than being in Medina, mixing with the Arab, the Khazraj and Al-Aws and Khazraj. So they said, they used to say to them, that's the Yahud of Medina, Khaybar, they used to say that to the Yahud of Medina. Allah said here, قُلْ إِنَّ, say, O Muhammad, to them, to the Muslims in Medina, inna al-fadla, again, inna, to emphasize the statement. Whenever you see inna, brothers and sisters, just translate that as verily, surely, indeed, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And you can have the statement without it. That's the interesting thing. You can have the statement without it, but with it is to emphasize the statement, make it strong. Inna al-fadla biyadillah. Al-fadl. What's al-fadl? What's the difference between fadl and ni'mah? Fadl, you know, you're saying blessing of Allah. Fadl is all the time in Arabic, we talk about the ziyada, the extra. is not, a ni'mah is a ni'mah, but fadl is a ziyada. You're having more extra. Inna al-fadla is the bounties basically of Allah. Inna al-fadla biyadillah. Whatever extra that Allah wants to give, the blessing of Allah is all in the hands of Allah. Al-fadla biyadillah. So not by just not wishing me to have the same thing that you had, and not to tell them, not to make them to stay in their religion so they may get what we got before. He said, Inna al-fadla biyadillah yu'tihi may yasha. Allah has the fadl and He will give it to whoever He wants, subhanahu wa ta'ala. He gave it before to the Yahud when they were believers. When they disbelieved and start killing the Anbiya, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala took it from them and He gave it. I gave the fadl to the last nation, the nation of Islam, the nation of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. قُلْ إِنَّ الْفَضْلَ بِيَدِ اللَّهِ. The fadl biyadillah. And that reminds me, the hadith, which is sad that to see sometimes after salah. We finish salah, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, you see people standing up and walking away. It reminds me of the fadl here, the statement of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam when the poor of the companions came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Among the companions community, they are poor and they're rich, same all the time. They came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Yes, Ya Rasulullah. They said, Oh Rasulullah, the rich amongst your companions, they perform Umrah, they go for Hajj, and they give it charities. And we don't have all of that. We don't have that same as they having. They're getting lots of reward. So try to create for us something. That's what they intend to say. So Rasulullah said to them, shall I tell you something will be similar to what they're doing, or you will be really great for you? He said to them, after each salah, because there are most of them from Ahlul Sufa, and Ahlul Sufa are in Medina and in the Masjid. They live in there, they stay in there, they eat there 24 hours. That's their home. And they're not like the rich ones. They pray in their area and they come later to Rasulullah or the other way around. So he said to them, say after salah, Subhanallah 33, Alhamdulillah 33, Allahu Akbar 33, end it with La ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lah, lahul mulku wa alhamdu wa ala kulli shay'in qadir. They were so happy to hear that knowledge from Rasulullah. They went away. They came back again later, Ya Rasulullah, oh Rasulullah. And that's the point. That when they came later, now they complained because they are poor and they are rich. They have more options for them to do in the deen. They came later and said, oh Rasulullah, the rich ones, they heard what you said and they start doing the same thing as us. What did he say to them? ذَاكَ فَضْلُ اللَّهِ يُؤْتِيهِ مَن يَشَاءُ. That is fadl from Allah. I can't hold it. It's a deen. It's not private. It's not secret. Well, that's fadlullah. Allah's bounty. Allah bless this one with that gift, bless this one with different gifts. You have to accept it and you have to carry on with your life. So, Inna al-fadla biyadillah. Fadl is in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yu'tihi, He will give it, may yasha. And as we said before, you see the blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala upon the nations, starting from Nuh alayhi salam, later on about the Anbiya of the Arab land, the Ad and Thamud, and going into Ibrahim, and after that all the Bani Israel from Yaqub until the time of Musa alayhi salam, and then Isa alayhi salam, and then lately with Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So all fadl from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, yu'tihi may yasha. So he's telling the believers, this refute, you see the refute of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in both statements is very tight in there. You can explain, you can make pages of explanation on that. You don't need to go too much details about what they say and go point 1 and 2 or 3. A general word, it gives so much to refute what they say. Al-Fadl is biyadillah, not in your hands, O Yahud. Yu'tihi man yasha, He will give it to whoever He wants. Once was given to you and will be taken away from you and will be given to the others as well. Wallahu wasi'un alim. Usually when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we've learned this in Surah Al-Baqarah a lot, Allah ends the ayat with His name, or when we say innahu with the word inna in there, as if stating the reason of the previous statement is related to a name of Allah that ended with. And so the point I want to make in here, there is connection between the specific name of Allah that mentioned at the end with the beginning of the ayah. So Allah said, wow here, wow atifa means and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He's referring to Himself, al-ma'bud, wasi'un. So Allah, the word Allah is a mubtada in here in terms of the grammar. Wasi'un, he named him, it's a khabar. First alim. So Allah is wasi'. The word wasi'un fi kull sifati, in all his attributes. Allah wasi' fi ilmihi, in his knowledge, which means the alim. Allah wasi'un fi qudrati, the qudra, the power of Allah subhanahu wasi' is wide, is big, is huge, has no limit, has no space for it. Wasi'. When we say something wasi', this room is wasi'. The back room is a dayiq. Opposite of wasi' is a narrow, it's a tight, and a wasi' is wide and spacious. And so the Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wasi'un fi kulli sifatihi, in all his attributes that you think about them, in his ilm, in his qudra, in his af'al, whether it's a punishment or whether it's a reward of the others, as we have in here al-huda and al-fadl. Huda Allah wasi' and fadlullah wasi'. As if he wants to say in here, wallahu wasi'un fi hidayatihi, in his hidayah, and Allahu wasi'un fi fadlihi, in his fadl, which is the blessing that he gives to the others. Alim is alimun, he's all knowing of your actions. The Yahud, when they plotted this, and alimun with the believers, the Sahaba, the companions in that community, those who've been affected with the statement of the Yahud. So Allah is alimun. And alim, just to give you a bit of language in here, alim comes from the pattern of fa'il. Allah could have said about himself is Allahu alim. From alima ya'lamu, the root of this word is alima ya'lamu. To create from this word something called ism fa'il. We say alim. But Allah, he did not call himself alim, he called himself alim. It's from the pattern of fa'il. Fa'il is exaggerations of the word alim. It means so knowledgeable. Ilmullah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as we did talk about it last lesson, is great. There's no start for ilmullah, there's no end for ilmullah. Ilmullah subhanahu wa ta'ala is muhitun bi kulli shay, it covers everything that we can see. What we can benefit from this ayah before we go to that last ayah and related to it, يَخْتَصُّ بِرَحْمَتِهِ مَن يَشَاءُ, which is, I need to say some different explanation about the ayah. So I'll leave it for next week if we don't have time. But this ayah, just a few lessons related to that. So we said, if you have any doubts, you read any doubts, you should not, from the start, you should not open your ears for doubts, for people are known that they create doubts in the religion. So from the beginning, don't read it. Don't give to yourself, oh, I'm a graduate, oh, I am clever, oh, I am this. The people who said that are the people fall in the trap. The people who they consider themselves are graduate and clever, Cambridge graduate, or Oxford graduate, or London graduate, those are the people who fall on that trap. So don't cheat yourself. Doubts, a person is not right, move away from it until I establish myself in Islam. I learn the foundation of Islam, meaning I read the books of Aqidah, I read language, I read Usul al-Fiqh. I'm good Islamically, I can read what they say, I can refute them. If you are in that stage, then you can go there. But otherwise, don't read the doubts of those people. Don't sit with them if you can. If he's a person that you chose to sit or not to sit, don't sit, because if you sit with them, they will give you that doubt. You can't, because you're sitting with them. You're going to hear it. If there's something watching, don't watch it. If something that you listen to it, don't listen to it. Then if there is someone who's going to answer these doubts, has to be someone knowledgeable. As we said, قُلْ إِنَّ الْهُدَى is Muhammad, who's carrying out the duty of refuting them. And the one who's giving that, the teachings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, meaning has to be authentic. You need to have that, the right knowledge. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is wasi' alim. We Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah, we believe in Allah's names. And we believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's attributes. Every name of Allah, you can create from it as an attribute. So Allah has got a quality called ilm. The wasi' as a name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has got a quality as well. And that is the spacious in all his attributes subhanahu wa ta'ala. We believe also in the hidayah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as we mentioned earlier, the two types of hidayah and the fadl of Allah. And overall, the ayah teaches us one of the qualities of the Yahud, from the time of the Sahaba or Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Okay, inshallah, we'll end it here. Subhanakallah wa bihamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Jazakumullah khair, everyone. Salam.